2 a.m. I saw it with my own eyes. In the corner of the city, an old hospital, closed for 50 years. But the light in Ward 13 still flickers. Local people say those who come back from there never utter a single word about their experience. They just go silent, as if something inside them has been taken away. I and my two friends Daniel and Chris had a plan to make a documentary. The target was simple: explore an abandoned building, get some footage, then upload it to YouTube. But the more stories I had heard about this place, they didn't feel like just ghost stories. Some of the details were so specific that ignoring them was impossible. While having coffee at dinner, an old waitress passed by our table. She just said in a low voice, "The door to Ward 13, it doesn't open for you, it closes back again." And she walked away without answering any of our questions. Daniel laughed it off. Chris stayed silent. At 1:40 a.m., we got off Highway 47 onto a small, dead-end road. Passing a gas station and a junkyard, we reached the hospital's front gate. The gate was locked, but part of the side fence had fallen, so we slipped inside. Inside the building, there was a cold, chemical-like smell, the kind you only get in old hospitals. In the torchlight, the paint on the walls had peeled off, and in some places graffiti raked it out, and in one corner, an old gurney wheel was spinning on its own. We headed toward the basement through a narrow hallway. Daniel's camera froze for a second. When the image came back, all three of us were in the frame. But a fourth figure was standing behind us, face blurred, only two white eyes. At the end of the hall, an iron door. The number plate was faded, but in the torchlight, it became clear: 13. From inside came a faint, lullaby-like sound, as if someone were putting a child to sleep. I was about to touch the handle when a shadow slipped under the door. Then a whisper, my name, and Chris's name, right next to us. Daniel said, "It's just a prank," but Chris's face turned completely pale. He just said, "I've heard this voice before." We pushed the door open. Inside was dim red light, like an emergency light flickering. Bed frames rusted, sheets stained brown, and in the corner, a wheelchair that moved slightly on its own. Patient files scattered across the floor. I picked up a file. The name read, Christopher L. Moore, admitted, 1998, status, deceased. The file slipped from my hands, because Chris's full name was the same, and he was standing alive, right in front of me. The red light began to flicker. Suddenly the hallway door slammed shut. We ran, but every turn led us back in front of Ward 13. Heavy breathing echoed from the basement, as if someone was coming closer. Daniel picked up the camera, started recording, but a bloody handprint appeared on the lens. Then the lights went out for a second, and when they came back on, Daniel was lying on a bed in Ward 13. And a voice came from his mouth, deep, slow. "You cannot leave this place." The screen goes black. Only the echo of footsteps remains. And the story freezes there. Daniel's body was still, but his face, smiling in a completely unnatural way. His mouth slowly opened, and the same deep voice spoke again. "Why have you come here?" Chris shook his shoulder. But Daniel's eyes were pitch black. And when he looked at us, he said only one line. "Ward 13 keeps its own." Suddenly the red light flickered. A loud metallic sound came from the hallway, as if someone was dragging a heavy door. Chris and I ran toward it. But the hallway that used to lead to the basement had become a long, unfamiliar corridor. Old patient portraits lined the walls, all with scratched-out eyes. We entered a room. On a table, VHS tapes were stacked. One tape had a marker label, Incident, October 13th, 1973. Chris picked up the tape. The moment he touched it, the room went freezing cold. And for a second, I saw in the mirror. Not us, but two more people, dressed in 70s clothing. The tape player was in the corner. We played it. black and white static, then 3 people in the frame. Exploring the hospital. The camera caught a corner with an iron door, number 13. And when they approached the door, one of them vanished from the frame. The remaining 2 tried to run, but every shot made it look like they were back in front of Ward 13. Chris tried to eject the tape, but a hand reached out of the player and grabbed his wrist. He screamed and pulled free. Deep red marks remained, as if gripped with molten iron. We searched for Daniel again. He wasn't on the Ward 13 bed. Instead, an old skeleton lay there, faint steam rising from it. His camera was under the bed. We turned on the camera. Daniel's face was in close-up. He whispered, "The door is about to close." And in the next frame, an unknown figure picked up the camera, lens covered. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed through the hallway. We both turned on the lights. At the end of the hall stood Daniel. But his stance was rigid. And behind him, within the red light, a tall shadow, face completely blank. Chris and I ran again, but every turn led back to the same Ward 13 door. The number was gone, only a scratched sentence remained. "Welcome back." The red light went out completely. And in the pitch black, a whisper was heard. "I told you, you cannot leave this place." The darkness was so thick, the flashlight beams seemed to vanish into the air. We grabbed each other's hands. The door frame was visible only as a faint outline. Then, slowly, it opened on its own. Inside, a long, narrow hallway stretched ahead. The walls lined with old photographs. But in each, the 3 of us, me, Chris, Daniel, were standing. And dates were written. 1973, 1985, 1998, 2006. The years people went missing from the hospital. Chris touched one photo. Instantly, a white flash hit him. When I recovered, Chris was at the end of the hallway. His face illuminated in red light, and he said, "You're late, the door is already closed." I ran toward him, but with every step, the hallway stretched longer. Daniel suddenly appeared right behind me. He calmly said, "One must stay, so the other can leave." I was confused. Daniel put his hand on my shoulder. And in that moment, a flash hit my mind. Inside the hospital, dozens of people, sitting in beds, all with the same face, my face. I realized, this place duplicates people, their real soul stays inside. The duplicate is left outside. Chris was standing by the doorway. The doorway that, once crossed, leads outside. He looked at me, and said only, "Choose." With every second, the always red glow faded. I knew if the door closed, all 3 of us would be trapped here. Daniel whispered, "You go. I'll stay here." But as he spoke, a shadow grabbed him. Reflexively, I crossed the doorway. My eyes opened. I was in the diner. Same waitress, same coffee. She looked at me, stunned. You were missing." I said, "Just one night, only one night." She slowly shook her head. "No, you've been missing for 7 years." I froze, and saw my reflection in the diner window. But it wasn't me. It was Daniel, smiling. The screen goes black. Only a faint lullaby echoes from afar. And a deep, slow whisper. "Next time, it's your turn to stay." We had been driving on Interstate 84 for 3 hours. As the gas was running low, we spotted the same Chevron station in Baker City, Oregon that we had stopped at just 30 minutes ago. But this time, the station was completely deserted, and our own Jeep Cherokee was already parked there. We were 4 friends, Jake, Ryan, Emily, and me. The plan was simple. drive from Portland, Oregon to Bozeman, Montana for a night thrill. 30 minutes into the trip, we had stopped at a small, old-fashioned pilot travel center. Its neon sign was flickering halfway, and there was only one attendant, a thin, long-faced middle-aged man who gave us a strange smile as soon as he saw us. We ignored it at the time, filled up the tank, and left. Now, 3 hours later, when the gas gauge needle dropped into the red, Ryan said, "We gotta find the next station, or we're walking." Nothing was visible on the highway, except a faint light beyond a sharp curve. The car moved forward, and our breaths caught. There it was, the same pilot travel center. The same broken neon sign, the same place. But this time, the sign looked rustier, and the most unsettling thing was an SUV parked beside the pumps, identical to our Jeep Cherokee. Emily let out a nervous laugh. "There's no way, probably the same model." But as we drove closer, we saw the faded Yosemite 2022 sticker on the rear window, the exact one we put on during last summer's trip to Yosemite National Park. Jake said, "That's literally our car." My hands went cold on the steering wheel. Ryan immediately said, "Don't stop. Just keep driving." But as we passed the pumps, the same attendant came out from behind the counter, the same man we had met 30 minutes ago. And then, he gave that same unsettling smile, like he recognized us. My heart raced. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was slowly stepping forward from the middle of the station, and behind, the engine of our Jeep Cherokee started. My hands froze on the steering wheel, but Ryan, almost in panic, shouted, "Go! Go now!" I hit the accelerator, and we got back on Interstate 84. The engine was heating up, but the cabin felt unnaturally cold, like the AC was on full blast even though it wasn't. Emily whispered from the back seat, "Did you guys see him?" His smile, it didn't change, not even for a second. Jake just stared out the side window into the darkness. His face was pale. "That wasn't just a smile," he said quietly. "He looked like he knew where we'd be, before we got there." We stayed silent for a while. Only the sound of tires on asphalt broke the quiet. I increased speed, trying to get as far from that station as possible. But exactly 45 minutes later, Emily pointed out the window. No way, a light was flickering in the distance. Jake muttered, "It better not be." As we got closer, my stomach tightened. The same pilot travel center. The same broken neon sign. Only this time, vines and weeds had climbed over the sign, as if it had been there for years, even though we had passed it just an hour ago. And the scariest part? This time, 2 SUVs were parked beside the pumps. Our actual Jeep Cherokee we were driving, and the previous duplicate SUV we had seen last time. Ryan, in shock, said, "What the hell is going on?" I swerved into the other lane to pass the station, but as we drove by, I saw the same attendant standing there. This time, no smile. His expression was blank, and he was pointing directly at our car with one finger. Jake grabbed my shoulder, "Don't look back." But I reflexively checked the rearview mirror, and there was something I'll never forget. Inside both duplicate SUVs, 4 people each. And it was us. Same clothes. Same faces. The only difference was the complete lack of emotion on their faces. I started driving faster on the highway without touching the brakes. My hands were soaked in sweat. Only the blur of headlights remained behind us, like someone was chasing. Within 20 minutes, the road curved in the same pattern, and a light flashed again. Ryan punched the seat. It's the same damn station again. This time, no cars. Only an old AT&T payphone in the middle of the pumps, ringing loudly. The payphone's ringing was even more disturbing in the silence of the highway. I braked and pulled over to the shoulder. Emily whispered, "Don't answer it, but Jake opened the door and walked straight to the middle of the pumps. His walk was mechanical, as if being pulled. Ryan, Emily, and I ran after him. The ringing grew louder with every step. Jake picked up the receiver without hesitation, and a low, distorted voice said, "You're not supposed to be here, but you never left." Then static. Jake looked at us, his face completely drained. They said our trip never started," he whispered. At that moment, we noticed movement in the shadowed corners of the station. The 4 duplicates slowly emerged. This time, their movement was even more unnatural, as if each joint was misaligned. Ryan screamed, "Get in the car." We sprinted to our Jeep Cherokee at full speed. I started the ignition, but the car cranked for a second, and then the headlights of the duplicate SUVs hit our windshield. Their engines roared in unison, both vehicles parallel to ours. The highway suddenly became perfectly straight, no turns, no exits. Just an endless road. My speedometer needle crossed the red zone, but their engines matched ours. Emily kept looking back, they're getting closer. And then, as if someone flipped a switch, everything went black. No road. No lights. Only pitch darkness. The engine sound vanished. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the driver's seat, near the gas station pumps. Jake, Ryan, and Emily, all silent, blank-faced, staring at me. Behind the counter, the same attendant stood, smiling, and behind him, an old handwritten sign read, "Welcome back. Enjoy your stay." The phone started ringing again.